It's Hollywood, California, the heart of the music industry, where you'll find Warner Brother Records, the landmark Capitol Tower overlooking the entire city of dreams, and A&M Records, just to name a few. And the club scene on Sunset Strip, where many new artists get their start. This is a place where garage bands from all over have dreams of one day going for gold. One such band, Darkroom C, resides on the other side of town in suburban Westchester. Caesar, the pitbull, guards the band's equipment in their garage studio. Darkroom C utilises the latest in computer technology and merges it with their music to create a state-of-the-art show. Tech man Peter Minotti explains why.
Programming the show is basically just putting a click track on the computer for the drummer to work with, programming all the effects changes on the guitarist rack so he can have different guitar sounds for different parts, and then programming the bass lines in the computer, getting the samples for that, and programming the lead lines and all the special effects. It's not a heck of a lot of programming. It sort of gets easier the more you do it. When it started out, yeah, it used to be real tedious. But now the stuff's down to we have the right software that it's just really a snap. It doesn't take that much to program it. It's an industry. It's not just music anymore. It's not like the 60s where you had, Bob Dylan out there with a guitar and a harmonica just singing along. This is big business. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars being put into these things, and they want it to sound good. And for it to sound good, it's got to have some kind of synchronization. And that's where I think inevitably it's going to go. And I think we're on the top of the crest right now, as high as we can go, ready to drop into the market. And then once they see what we can do with this stuff, I think it's really going to open up.
The band's Canadian drummer, Michael Rosen, has created an elaborate percussion setup. He describes it for us in this interview.
Well, it was designed with two things in mind. One was to be able to reproduce really high-tech studio quality sounds, and the second thing was so that I wouldn't be hidden. I could be very visual. As you see in the set, there's nothing in my face. Everybody could see me. And as far as electronics go, I just added a sampler to the kit, which allows me to get virtually any sound I want off a master tape or off a machine or anywhere, so I can reproduce really high quality sounds. Well, basically, I have a rack full of equipment, and you have basically 2 or 3 sound sources where the sounds are actually coming from, which would be the sampler, the analog synthesizer section, which is a Simmons SDS7, and a TR-707 drum machine, which is all hooked up MIDI. And then I have the other section, which is like the amplification and monitoring and processing section, where it's a board, 12-channel board, where all the sounds go into, and then they're passed through a processing unit, like a Yamaha Rev 7 digital reverb. And then I have monitors on stage for myself, so I can get a really high quality sound for myself on stage, and then I send a mix of all these sounds to the house, and they get a really good mix already. They don't have to do too much with that from there.
In contrast to the high-tech, slick style of other Darkroom C members, guitarist Chris Webber adds an edge of hard rock to the band.
Everybody has their own style of creating music. And when people write together, it naturally comes out as the best, hopefully the best pieces of each person mixed into one. My background and what I like to do and what I'm gifted at came out in a hard rock style. Not to say that I haven't looked into other styles, which I might be able to do some very good writing in that facet of writing, but it's generally a hard rock style. So just coming together it's naturally going to form into one big like s'mores, I'm like the marshmallow and they're the chocolate. It's just going to mix into one, and it'll be rock. It'll have a hard rock edge to it. What's off stage is on stage. We work so well off stage together, and when we go on stage, it's just like we're rehearsing, but then you throw 1,000 people there in front of us to watch. It's the same kind of energy that we have all the time together, even when we're destroying a Denny's or just talking, normal conversations. That's how we relate on stage. These guys, I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys.
Dan Rue, the lead singer, composes most of the lyrics for Darkroom C. Through his writing, Dan expresses his concern for independent thought.
I think some of the bands out now today tend to get a little too heavy into the self-awareness message, where it becomes annoying and in effect it becomes ineffective. I want to have that, self-awareness message. We kind of talk a lot about individuality, doing what you feel is right and that type of stuff. I want to get that across, and yet I don't want it to sound like, a televangelist saying you've got to do this right, all that stuff. By going by what the songs are, I try to have the character come out of the songs. It's something of an intense, thoughtful person, someone who is kind of concerned with what's going on around him. It's not the usual kind of stereotypical rock and roll character. I think I'm kind of working more towards like the concerned citizen thing. It's different in the sense that that I want to act out my concern in a more obvious, in a more pantomime sort of manner on stage, where I can. I wouldn't necessarily be, happy-go-lucky on stage, because that wouldn't fit the character that I'm trying to portray. And in many ways, I'm, pretty happy-go-lucky, take things as they come, although I'm still concerned about these things.
And finally, Bruce Mara, who spends much of his time keeping things organised, as well as playing keyboards, singing backup, and composing. We asked him how he handles it all.
Basically, my part of the band is kind of organizing everything. I'm usually the one that sits back and listens to the song and says, it needs this, it needs that, it's missing this or that, is basically what I do. I'm real good, I think, at organizing. It's just a matter of knowing what you want to do and doing it. That's the key to success. I think, you always sit back and you hear these celebrities talk and they say, what's your advice to be successful? And they say, just keep going at it, keep going. As long as you keep going, it'll eventually pay off and you'll get what you want. And that's exactly what it is. Don't be discouraged and keep going. And that's what we do. If we don't make it this year, we say, hey, look at all we learned this year, and we're going to take that into next year. And next year is going to be the year that we're going to make it.
To get radio's perspective, we spoke with Ken Fusion of KROQ.
For a band that's looking to move out of the garage or out of nightclubs into radio, and radio is the big stepping stone. You can have records made and pressed, but if they don't get played on the radio, nobody knows about them. So you have to identify the song or the sound that you have and put it onto tape and make it sound clean and balanced, and try and capture some energy. It's best to get a record out if it's good enough, if people want it enough. And you got to remember, as far as success goes, you have to make the people like it. Not that you have to sell out and be commercial, but you have to have a public appeal. Before anybody's going to buy your contract, people are going to have to want you. They're going to have to say, this is going to make us money. The record company is going to have to say, this is going to make us money. That's why we want you to sign this contract.
The key is, though, to remember, I use this as kind of an example, is when Star Wars first came out, everybody was blown away by the brand new special effects and everything, and then after that you had a whole trail of movies that were all special effects, but there were no story, and people tend to forget what made Star Wars such a big hit was the fact that it had a great story. It's the same thing with music. You get too caught up in the technology and you forget about the music. All the neatest sounds in the world are great, but if it's not a good song, it's not a good song.
Well, tonight's their big break, playing the renowned Roxy Theatre on Sunset Strip. If they do well tonight, they'll have something to show that record executive who will help them go for the gold.